the other day in Recife, I was crossing the road, just a normal crossing, and there happened to be a Ford Mustang there waiting at the lights for me to a Ford Mustang car. And of course, the driver saw me. I must have looked across at him or looked across at it, and he made it roar for me, basically. So, of course, I gave him the thumbs up, as you do. Yeah. The bros had an understanding. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he sort of he gave me a bit of a grunt on it, and I appreciated that. The real deal, as it were. I think it was the 2023 model. So not a real classic thing. But I just saw it. You see that badge, you see something. It's a Ford Mustang. That's all I need to know. And it wasn't the electric one. Yeah, which is even better. Which hasn't been released yet. I know somebody's driven one. I mean, I'm no petrol head. I know how a internal combustion engine works, the cylinders and the mini explosions and all that. Quite straightforward, really. Yeah, we put an explosive liquid in a car, and away it goes. Now, sort of, always think about it in this. I mean, I grew up obviously in the 70s and 80s, where we had decent cars, what I call decent looking, nice cars. And I mean, coming from Essex, called the Ford Escort was always the dream car for me. I remember getting, if you like, the offer for my first proper job, as it were. Now, I had this for going to engineering. I was humming and hawing. Do I really want to do this? My father said two things to me. If you don't take it, you're going to move out the house, which had a little bit of impact. The other thing he said, if you take this job, you'll be able to afford your XR3i quickly. Well, that was the clincher. Yeah. A threat that may or may not happen. Didn't really do it for me. The fact that I could actually afford an XR3i did. Strangely enough, I never actually owned an XR3i. In the mid-90s, I actually bought myself a reasonably new Ford Escort 16-valve SI. Beautiful car. I still remember it now. Unfortunately, it got damaged in an accident when somebody else was driving after I passed it on. I mean, obviously, there's certain cars that you have that made you happy to drive. That was one of them. It is a modern car. I mean, I'd had other cars up to that point. I'd had a Morris Marina 1800 Coupe. Yeah, my first car. Big car. Oh, right. You'd have probably done better to drive a sail along the road rather than that, because if you have a bit of wind would catch it. Still fun. Classic car now. I owned a Volvo 345DL. Yeah, which was like the Volvo rival to the Escort. Very solid car. Yeah, I think it could survive anything. I mean, not a classic car. Then I've had other things. I've owned Suzuki SJ Jeep, soft top, rag top, of course. Coming from Essex, we had these flashy cars. Leaf spring suspension. Absolutely brilliant. You hit a bump, if you can see it. I don't know if it'd be allowed now. Then I had the Suzuki Vitara SJ, which I had all the nudge bars at the front, which are illegal now. And I also, just running through all the cars I've owned. Yeah. Then I think the next one I did own was the Escort SI. Then I had various company cars, which we're not going to sort of talk about too much here. When it comes to cars, though, I mean, we had exposure to cars, and even now I try and catch up online in English or Portuguese. Like I might watch a Brazilian YouTube video about the Escorts that are here. Yeah, my dream is one day to actually own an XR3 still. Hopefully one day I'll get one. I don't know about getting the parts or anything for it, but I'll cross that bridge if and when I come to it. We watched cars on telly. in the UK, let's be honest, we watched really the professionals, Sweeney and Minder, in part for the cars. They were contemporary cars at the time. Okay, some of them are older that got bashed up, or some of the classic then. But yeah, they were fun TV series. You watch the cars, you watch them do the donuts, the handbrake turns, racing around the streets of London, either legally or illegally when they were filming it. I don't know which. Didn't question it. It looked fun. Yeah, wanted to be the actors in that, really, let's be honest. In the US, their cars on the US, like the Dukes of Hazzard, was a Dodge Charger, the General Lee, the main car, and then you got the Jeeps in there. They had some old cars as the police cars, which would probably never ever be police cars. But yeah, they used to buy up old second-hand cars, just paint them up a bit, and hey, there's the cop car that's going to get smashed up. All harmless fun. Yeah, I mean, I always remember the Dodge Charger. You can't get it now on most streaming services for some reason because they say the paint job on the car is not for modern tastes. I don't know who objects to it. I haven't met anyone, but yeah, there we go. Starsky and Hutch. Again, you've got another full Grand Torino, which, if you're having a cop car that needs to handle, would have been particularly bad. They did not corner well. They were like driving a brick, anyone that owns one, but they just looked good. The muscle car going along the road with a lot of grunt on it. Straight line, brilliant. Doing anything else with it, maybe not so. I'm just going to, list a couple of films. We've got Gumball Rally, which was a classic one, lots of cars in it. The Cannonball Run, with the famous actor with the moustache. Was a Ferrari 308 in that. And I think he actually got given a Ferrari when he did it because the Ferrari sales went up after the film. And then one of my all-time favourite films is Gone in 60 Seconds, the original 1970s one, 72 I think it was, which featured a Mustang as a star, really. Chased by lots of police, okay. But of course, I've always liked pickup trucks. My favourites being the Ford Ranger, which is the classics from the early 1980s. Going back further, you've got the F-150s, which again features on a lot of films. I know Chevrolet made their versions of the pickups, but who really cares about Chevrolet pickups? You know, they just haven't quite got the same sort of style or the same sort of status that Ford had. So really, I mean, for me, there was something about older cars, more modern cars. I know why, but they just look like clones to me. They're the same shape. There's no spirit, no soul when you drive them. There's no fun in driving them. I mean, yeah, I had fun with the cars I had. As I said, leaf spring suspensions, the Jeeps, everything else about them was fun. Probably my Ford SI, Escort SI, was beginning to get into the more modern era, the shaping, but it was still a fun car. The way it was styled inside, it was still a racing car. Yeah. And certainly wasn't built for comfort, really. You still felt most of the bumps along the road in it, which to me is what driving is, keeps you awake. I know my cars have got to be built the way they do now, with the safety of pedestrians as well. But we grew up with fun cars. So really, my question is to you, Steve. What cars did you like? And what do you see the future of cars being? Over to yourself.
Right, okay. Well, let's go back to the beginning of your introduction.
Yeah.
It's a good job that Greta Thunberg wasn't on the street when your friend was showing off his car.
Okay, he's showing off, but he's entitled to, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It depends on your opinion. Just you by giving him the thumbs up massaged his ego somewhat. So
we had an instant bromance at that point.
Yeah, I bet you did. Be careful there. I bet he thought at that moment in time, this all this money I spent on this car is finally worth it because I got a thumbs up from somebody in the, somebody's finally noticed me.
Well,
Oh, there you go.
I was wearing my 40-year-old hat at the time, so yeah, looking American.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh dear, that's dangerous. You probably thought it was one of the integrants of the village people. Right. So listen,
Yeah.
cars. I used to collect cars
Mm,
when I was younger. When I
mm,
lived in the UK, I used to
mm,
collect Morris Minors,
mm.
old Moggy 1000.
Yeah.
Um, I had three. I started off with a um, a, a, nine, a Morris Minor um, Traveller,
Mm, yeah.
which was ex-army actually. It was ex-army. It was used abroad. They'd put on the left-hand drive on it
Yeah.
and then switched it back to the right-hand drive, and
Yeah.
that's when I got it. And I had that for a while.
Mm,
Massive steering wheel for the size of the car.
yes.
Um, yeah, and then I got another one, a 1957 um, Morris Minor, where
Yeah.
the windscreen wipers like this instead of going
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
You know, that got nicked. Got nicked off a
Okay.
car park where I'd left it, and
Right.
obviously nobody wanted to have a quick getaway. They must have known that I was out of the house for a long time
Mm,
because I went to work and it was taken off the car park outside the front of my flat.
okay.
And we found it later in somebody's garden. They trashed it and left it in somebody's garden. It had a Morris 1000, I think it was a 1962,
Mm,
1963
mm,
Moggy 1000, a grey one.
yeah.
Um, and they were the three cars that I adored,
Mm,
I adored. I learnt to drive in a Ford Corsair 1600
mm,
V4, which is a huge car to learn to drive in. My dad taught
yeah.
me to drive.
Okay.
Um, had a Vauxhall Viva, which I
All
bought
right.
from
Oh, well, I've had one of them.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I bought that from a second-hand, of course, from a teacher,
All right.
friend of mine.
Mm,
Um, I had an Austin Allegro,
mm.
with the square steering wheel.
All right. Oh, yeah. Remember them. Yes.
Um, Ford Cortina Mark III,
Yeah.
which was the Ford Cortina, the bigger one, you
Yeah.
know, that were out round about the same time as the Ford Capri.
Mm,
Um, I don't know. Going on Renault, I had a Renault 4
okay.
with the gear stick in the panel of the car. You
Yeah.
had to change it. It left out the panel of the car. I had
Mm,
a Renault 12,
yeah.
which looked like a wedge of cheese. We called it a wedge of cheese because it was
Yeah.
like this at the front and at the back.
Mm,
Um, and of course, lived in a motorhome, as you know. I've
yeah.
already told you about that. And
Mm,
here in Brazil, I started to drive in a Volkswagen Beetle
all right.
when I arrived in 91,
Mm,
92.
mm,
Uh, my missus, she drove a Volkswagen Beetle,
mm,
and so I drove her car.
okay.
Um, and a Chevrolet Chevette,
Okay.
like a
Yeah.
Vauxhall Chevette,
Yeah.
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 Then I got my Ford Escort Mark III, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
something,
Yeah.
right? A Ferrari red one.
Yeah. Ooh,
Now, I didn't buy it because it was Ferrari red. I just bought it because it was cheap.
yeah.
And uh, and of course, I drove that around for a while.
Mm.
Very large inside.
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised how wide the seats were on the
Mm.
inside. And without going too Jeremy Clarkson, you
Yeah.
know, it's quite nice. It's quite a smooth ride
Yeah. Yeah.
for my experience.
Mm.
From my experience.
Yeah.
Um, these days I'm driving a Fiat Palio.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if there's an equivalent to it in in the UK. I don't think they make them in the UK.
No, no, I know your
I'm
mate. Yeah,
I'm I'm sure they make them in Italy. You'll
yeah,
have to do some research on the internet
yeah,
and draw up, get a photo of a Fiat Palio and
mm,
stick on this,
yeah,
so that
yeah,
people know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
And my current car, it's 20 years old now.
Mm,
I look after it like a baby,
mm,
any slightest thing that goes wrong with it, uh, I take it to the local garage where I
yeah,
found. I think the important thing about a car is not necessarily the car; it's
mm,
finding the right garage where you trust the
yeah.
mechanic
Oh,
and you
yeah,
know that the mechanic is not going to rip you off, and you know he's going to do a good job. And luckily, I found that mechanic.
yeah,
I found his workshop it's in the backwoods here.
mm, yeah,
You have down a little narrow alley to get to it.
that's
But
one thing.
he's always got cars in, but not too many cars,
Yeah,
that he'll abuse. And if I take my car there and I take it in the morning,
mm,
normally I get priority treatment. So,
yeah,
it's
that's
like
that.
it's like trying to jump the queue at the doctors, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll come to that on Thursday
yeah,
when I
okay,
give my little podcast out.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, so there's nothing. I've not had, never had anything super special.
mm,
Just run of the mill. I never had the GTIs or the GTs. Funnily enough, I've driven an Escort XR3i,
mm,
convertible,
oh, yeah, yeah,
when I was young. I was about,
mm,
I think I was about 18, 19.
mm,
I used to work at this place in the south, near to London,
yeah,
and the boss, a woman, she let me use her car to go on an
mm,
errand.
yeah,
And I remember thinking that the accelerator was very sensitive.
yeah,
You just touched the accelerator and away you went.
oh, yeah, that's it. Well, it's, yeah,
It was really nippy, really,
yeah,
really nippy car. I think it's a 2 liter. It's either 1600 or 2 liter.
I
For
mean,
the size of the chassis,
I
it
think
could
16,
move.
I remember doing 2 litres. Yeah, um, yeah, because they used to make them at Dagenham, yeah, in Essex.
Mm.
I suppose that's really the association with us Essex people. We could just see the drawing, the drawed over the production line at Ford in Dagenham.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean that's what we make for the UK now. That's the operation that's really run down to something that's quite miserable, really. I think that we're making motor engines at one point. I don't know what they do there now. I'm just not in the area. Don't really care now. But yeah, I mean, I look at this and I mean, yeah, when you think about the cars you've owned, and we all had good times in our cars, with what I mean, we used to have fun.
Yeah,
I
well,
see the younger people now. Okay, a lot of them can't afford cars. Obviously, there is a drive to, if you personally pun, to take cars away from us, as it were, because I don't own a car
mm,
now because it's not economically viable. I work from home. If I need to go anywhere, yeah, an Uber man, the Uber is good. It's not even convenient for me to have a car. It's just a drain on my money, resources, and yeah, my wife doesn't enjoy driving, so it all come down to
mm,
me. I have let my driving license go in Brazil, a couple of reasons. Yeah, because one day we're just talking. My wife said to me, "You ought to have your driving license in case of an emergency." I said, "What emergency?" And she said, "Well, you never know." I said, "Well, in an emergency, will I have to drive an XR3i, a Ford Ranger, a Mustang, yeah, or even an F-150 or one of these Beetle convert cars, beach buggies?" She said, "No." I said, "You're not selling it to me very well." So not really interested in getting behind any old car. I want my driving time to be
one of my
enjoyable. Yeah, yeah,
one of my biggest passions I
mm,
had. Uh, never owned one.
mm,
I've been driven in one,
yeah,
and when I was younger, I used to go hitchhiking a lot.
Oh yeah.
and I was coming back up north from Spain, coming back
Mm.
up north, and I got slipped in France
Yeah.
by a guy who looked just like John Mills, the actor.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
John Mills. It
Yeah.
wasn't him because
Yeah. You
I
know. Yeah.
think, but it wasn't him.
Yeah.
But it was, and he lived in his vehicle.
Mm.
Uh, it was a Land Rover
All right.
Safari,
Oh yeah.
a Land Rover that I've only ever seen in programs like Daktari,
Yeah.
you know, and living Wabindra Animal Doctor.
Yeah.
I think they might have had them as well, you know.
Yeah.
And he was coming up. I asked him, you know, where he'd been. And he
Mm.
said he lived in his car, and it was full of carpets. His car,
Yeah.
his van, his Land Rover.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, he's been to North Africa, and he goes down to North Africa and picks up these rugs,
Yeah.
these Arabic rugs,
Mm.
takes them north,
Yeah.
back to the UK, sells them,
Yeah.
then goes back down to Africa to pick up more. You know, so he's obviously sustaining himself. It's sustaining himself.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, you know, what a brilliant way to live.
Mm.
He also said that as one of his stints in Africa,
Mm.
of course, it's not simply just going backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
You know, he'll stay there for a while,
Yeah.
then before he comes back up.
Yeah.
He said one of his stints in Africa, he was painting aeroplanes for a government,
Mm.
and apparently these smaller countries in Africa, their governments nick aeroplanes from other governments for their air forces. And his job was to paint out
Yeah.
the flag
Yeah.
of one government and stick the flag of the
Yeah.
new government on the aeroplane.
Yeah.
So, and you know, to me, just listening to his stories, the way he told his stories, you know, it's just so. Eventually, when I make a memoir, if I make a memoir,
Yeah.
he's definitely going to be in there because he's one person that influenced me.
Mm.
Because, like I said, you know, I've lived in a motorhome, and I know I've lived on a boat,
Yeah.
and these sort of alternative living spaces
Yeah.
that we have, you know, I've always adapted easily
Mm.
to them. You know,
Yeah.
and I think it could well be that this guy, he rubbed off on me so much,
Mm.
and he just seemed so relaxed and so content with his lot. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just fascinating to listening to him.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're on about stuff. We're on about cars, and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
necessarily him.
Right. So the Land Rover.
One
Yeah.
of the cars I've always had a passion for since a small boy, like I said, with Land Rover Safari.
Yeah.
And I've looked on eBay for these things,
Mm.
and to find them because it's 1967.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
model's 1967,
Mm.
and to find them now it's like finding excrement from rocket horses. You know, it's very, very rare.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the trouble is, there's so much. Get one, you get the shed of one. Most of them have been robbed for spares. Because you know, we find because I mean, I don't know how you go about getting spares, especially here in the UK. You might do well as well to find any. Yeah, because normally they buy the one and then they buy another two that aren't going to drive it again to try and keep the one going.
You go to specialists. There are companies
Yeah.
in the UK that make parts for.
Yeah.
Of course, parts are expensive.
Yeah.
For these older vehicles, you know.
Well,
how do you think, you know, the London and Brighton race?
Yeah, I know.
It's full of cheap cars. Where do they get their spare parts from?
Well, yeah,
If the car, you know,
got,
you have to get them made individually.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, I know Rowan Atkinson owns a Land Rover or two because he was talking about the story when he went to a dealership to get the parts. But yeah, somebody says, yeah, I know you, or and all that. He couldn't convince him he was Rowan Atkinson, but yeah, because he works on his own things. I mean, he's an engineer, was electrical engineer, but yeah, it's a I mean, I was just looking at it. It's just saying it just prompts me. There's me crossing this road, looking at his Mustang, wearing my hat. Probably. I mean, I have my best favela chic clothes on. Whether the guy twigged I was a gringo or thought he'd made some Brazilian's day or not, I don't know. Well, he did make my day, but slightly wrong reasons. But yeah,
it's good to see that you're getting old, because I do that as well. You'll see something, and you'll start to, it just opens up you're starting to reminisce about the thoughts flood it, that they sort of flood into your mind.
Yeah.
It could be the way somebody walks. It could be a building. It could be anything, and it just triggers that oh, where is that person in my life, in the past life?
Yeah.
What are they doing now?
Yeah. I mean, it's in
your case, you thought about cars. You thought about cars.
Yeah, I mean,
it shows you think. It shows you thinking. If you're thinking, you're alive.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say I was a petrol head. I mean, I've never been the best car mechanic in the world. I mean, my friends and myself, we used to mess around with cars. You remember when you used to be able to actually do things on your own car? You didn't need all the Krypton tuners and everything else. When I
had the Moggy Thousands, who used to do the work on, you're talking to him. These days, I'm just too old and too fat to do repairs on my own car, and that's why I take it down to this guy.
Yeah, well,
because he's young and lean.
Yeah, well, it's not so much that. I mean, there used to be a time where you could actually reach into the vehicles, and even changing a lamp now involves a major. Basically, you've got to take the assemblies apart and put it back in again. If you can actually get and I think
I've got to change a water pump on the window washer. This month. And the water pump itself is a very small thing, and it's not all that expensive. The expensive part is him having to take out the rest to get access to the water pump, so he can take out the water pump and replace it, and then put everything back. It's going to cost me more in labor costs. Than the cost of the pump and
I know it's really frustrating now, because you think, well, that's a simple enough job to do. Normally just clip it in, put the clips back on it. You just can't get to it.
That's right.
And it's not so much if things go right, it's if things go wrong. And then what the hell do you do? I mean, I used to know a car mechanic in my hometown, and he said, do you know what his best revenue maker was? The Haynes manuals. He said the Haynes manuals were brilliant, because people used to follow that to the absolute T. Oh, this has got to be like that. He said there's a reason. That
was me.
But there's a reason why because parts wear out, and that sometimes you adjust the part for the wear and tear. He said, and people would then do it, and then of course have flows going in where it shouldn't be, and this and that. He said, the Haynes made him lots of money. Where did you get who told you to do that? The Haynes manual. What else have they been doing? I think the only thing I wouldn't do myself was brakes. I mean, I didn't do a lot on cars, but I've changed gaskets, even changed gaskets and things. But I used to go down the breakers and get the parts I needed as well. Even second-hand gaskets one time, just when I didn't have any money.